In this video, we're going to break down the three aspects of combat. We're going to talk about what they are, what they entail, and how they counter each other. The three aspects of combat are force, time, and strategy. Force breaks down into strength, speed, and power. Time breaks down into timing or distance. And strategy breaks down into your plan or your strategy. Now we're going to break down how these three aspects can counter one another. Force can be countered through timing, timing can be countered through strategy, and strategy can be countered through force. First, we're going to start off with why timing can counter force. It doesn't matter as much how fast they are if you're forcing them to travel more distance, which in return takes more time. A good example of this would be if I have my left foot forward and I'm right-handed and I'm fighting a right-handed fencer. If they're standing directly in front of me, I have a straight line. But if they step off to the side and I'm to attack them with my right arm, especially if I'm in a guard as such, then now the distance I have to travel is greater and I have to travel across my body, increasing the time that it's going to take to get to them as well. What does this mean? This means that if someone is beating us in speed, we can simply change to counter guards or counter positionings just to increase the amount of time that it's going to take for them to hit us. An easy way to do this is by covering the first and the second line, forcing them to take the long path. Another example is, say they have force in numbers. Say it's a 3v1. If you position yourself correctly in the 3v1, like if I had three opponents before me and I stepped all the way over here, my third target over here has a lot of distance to travel, and I've now turned it into a 2v1. By further positioning, I can even turn it into a one-on-one engagement. Therefore, help canceling out their numbers and turn it into a one-on-one fight and giving yourself back the advantage. Another reason is, even if someone is fast or throwing a very strong attack, if you have good timing and positioning on where you hit them, you can hit them before their attack finishes, in the middle of it, or even before they start it, therefore negating their power. Next up, we have strategy. The reason why strategy beats timing is, even if someone is really well timed, if you've formed a strategy in order to get them to, say, attack where you want, then it doesn't really matter how well their timing is if you're expecting the attack and you've limited their options to get them to go where you want, or you've simply deceived them to get to go where you want. Last up, the reason why force can beat strategy. A good example of this is, how many times have you seen someone have a great strategy and all is going well in the fight, only to just get hit by a really hard punch and send them straight to the floor? Or they have a great strategy, but the opponent gets that one takedown and ends up winning the fight. Another example is in fencing. I've seen people have a very good strategy just to get their guard completely blasted through with strength. Last up, the reason why force can beat strategy. A lot of times strategy can work really well, but if you don't give someone enough time to develop a strategy because you're so quick, or you've gotten there so fast, or you're just so strong you've outpowered certain strategic ideas that they've had. A lot of these reasons are why it's so important when it comes to strategy to strategize outside of the fight so that you have a plan when you're in the middle of the fight. One of the easier ways to do this is to assess your opponents before you've fought. A lot of times at tournaments, people will be getting warmed up, and this is a great time to assess your opponent, assess what their best and their weakest parries, assess what their strengths are, so that you can form a counter strategy before you step into the ring on how you're going to counter this opponent. So what was the point of this video? The whole point is to help you understand what aspect you may be losing to and how you can shift to a specific counter aspect to gain back the advantage. Now, earlier we had talked about assessing our opponents in and out of the ring, and I'm going to cover a little bit more on that. A lot of times if someone is older or less athletic, they may have lost some force levels, but gained wisdom and timing as a natural adaptation. If someone is younger or more athletic, this means they might have higher force levels. But when it comes to strategy, this one can be a bit harder to assess on appearance. They could have done several things that have affected their strategic level. For example, they could have played sports with a lot of strategy involved, or no sports at all, but competitively played chess or video games. They may have been military or had a specific job that affects the way they think in a strategic manner. All of these reasons are why it's good to get to know as much about your opponent as possible in and out of the fight to help you understand how they come up with their decision-making process. So this sums up our video on the 3 aspects of combat.